Picture this. You are standing in a golden palace at the edge of the known world. Silk hangs from the walls. Incense curls through the air. And behind the emperor of Byzantium stand giants, foreign, silent, deadly. They are not Romans. They are not Greeks. They are Vikings. This is the story of the Varangian Guard, Constantinople, the queen of cities. A metropolis of marble and gold, guarded by walls no army had ever breached. At its heart ruled the Byzantine Emperor, heir to Rome, master of wealth beyond imagination and target of endless plots, coups, and assassinations. In a world where generals betrayed emperors and palace guards sold loyalty to the highest bidder, the emperor needed protection that could not be bought or corrupted. So he turned to outsiders, men from the frozen north, men with axes instead of politics, men who swore loyalty not to the state, but to the throne itself. They were called the Varangian Guard. To understand the Varangian Guard, you must first understand the Vikings who became them. By the 9th and 10th centuries, Scandinavia was crowded, violent, and ambitious. Younger sons inherited nothing. Warriors sought silver, land, and fame or death. Some sailed west, raiding England and France, others sailed south, but a third path led east. Down the rivers of what is now Russia and Ukraine, Viking traders known as Varangians followed the Dnieper and Volga, trading furs, slaves, and steel for silver and silk. At the end of those rivers stood Constantinople. To the Norse, it was Miklagard, the great city, and Miklagard was always hiring. The Byzantine emperors were pragmatic. They did not care where a man was born, only whether he could fight and obey. Varangians were recruited in several ways. Some arrived as mercenaries, offering their axes for gold. Others were sent as diplomatic gifts from the Kiev and Rus. Later, after the Norman conquest of England in 1066, defeated Anglo-Saxon warriors fled east and joined their ranks. What united them was simple. They were foreigners with no ties to Byzantine politics, no families to bribe, no factions to join. Their loyalty was personal and absolute. They swore an oath directly to the emperor. Not to Rome, not to Byzantium, to the man on the throne. A Varangian Guard was impossible to miss. Towering height, broad shoulders, beards braided or wild. Their signature weapon, the two-handed Dane axe, could split shield, bone, and armor in a single blow. They wore chainmail, conical helmets, and carried round shields painted with runes or crosses. In peacetime, they guarded palace gates, throne rooms, and imperial processions. They stood unmoving during ceremonies that dazzled foreign envoys. In wartime, they became shock troops. When the Varangians advanced, enemies broke. Byzantine chroniclers wrote of their ferocity with awe and fear. These men did not retreat. They did not surrender. They fought until ordered to stop, or until they were dead. The Varangian Guard earned its legend in blood. They fought against Bulgarians in the Balkans, against Arabs in Sicily and Anatolia, against rebels who dared challenge the emperor himself. At the Battle of Kleidion in 1014, Varangians helped Emperor Basil II crush the Bulgarian army. The aftermath was so brutal that Basil earned the name the Bulgar Slayer. During civil wars, when loyalties shifted like sand, the Varangians remained loyal to the throne even when emperors changed overnight. There are accounts of Varangians cutting down their own former commanders after a coup failed. Not out of hatred. Out of duty. Among all Varangians, one name echoes louder than any other. Harald Sigurdsson. History remembers him as Harald Hardrada Harald the Ruthless. Exiled from Norway as a young man, Harald joined the Varangian Guard in the early 11th century. He fought across the Mediterranean, amassed enormous wealth, and became a commander within the Guard itself. By the time he left Byzantium, Harald was a hardened veteran and very rich. He returned north, claimed the throne of Norway, and in 1066 launched an invasion of England. At the Battle of Stamford Bridge, Harald Hardrada was killed struck down while charging, unarmored, shouting for his men to advance. Many historians mark his death as the end of the Viking Age, a Varangian to the last. The Varangian Guard became legendary not just for their strength but for their loyalty. They were paid well, exceptionally well. They were allowed to loot the imperial treasury when a new emperor ascended, a custom known as the Politisvarf. But their true power came from reputation. Enemies feared them. Courtiers avoided provoking them. And emperors slept better knowing they stood watch. In a court of whispers and poison, the Varangians were blunt instruments of trust. They were the last line. Nothing lasts forever. By the late Middle Ages, Byzantium was weakening, territories fell, wealth vanished, recruitment slowed. The Varangian Guard changed. Fewer Scandinavians arrived. More locals filled the ranks. The old identity faded. When Constantinople finally fell to the Ottomans in 1453, the Varangian Guard, if it still existed in any true form, vanished with it. The axes were lowered. The oath ended. The Varangian Guard was more than a unit. It was a collision of worlds, Norse warriors defending Roman emperors, pagan raiders becoming Christian guardians, axes standing watch in halls of gold. They remind us that history is not neat. It is forged where cultures collide and where loyalty is chosen, not inherited. If you want more stories of forgotten warriors, fallen empires, and the strange truths hiding behind history's legends, subscribe to the channel. The past is not dead. It's waiting.